Been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. Well, having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Let her go!
This is Silver&Blue Nation, the voice of the fans. Here's Big Game James and Producer G.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah. What's going on, Silver&Blue Nation? Big Game James.
Producer G over here. What's up, everybody?
You know how we do. We're back here talking some Cowboys news, but I want to throw something out there real quick. I posted something on the page, Big Game James and Silver&Blue Nation, about the interview we had with Greg Ellis. We did have the interview. Make sure when this session ends that you check out that interview. It was a real good thing. Found a lot of things that Greg Ellis is doing outside of football, and also got some good questions about that 1998 infamous draft with him and Randy Moss. Good stuff that you're going to want to listen to and going to want to hear, so make sure you check it out at the end of the show. It's some good stuff.
Yes, like he said, we will air that right at the end of the show. We just got done pre-recording that, so get ready for that, and then we'll also have individual cuts coming out from that throughout probably tonight as well. So
yes, sir.
Watch for that to drop.
Hey, Greg Ellis is a good guy, country boy, just a good guy, deep in the community. And just was gracious to give us that time. So shout outs to Greg Ellis. And make sure you check out his page. He does a lot of things, like I said, outside of football, producing movies, film writing, screenplays, things of that nature. Some really good stuff. So go out and check out his page, Greg Ellis, on Facebook, and you'll be able to see a lot of that good stuff that he does outside of football.
Appreciate all you guys leaving comments in Facebook Live, YouTube right now. We're live on both platforms. Silver&Blue Nation, give us a like and a share. We'd appreciate a share out there. You can become a supporter as well. You can get your supporter badge for $4.99 a month to see exclusive behind-the-scenes content, before and after shows, interviews, things of that nature. Eventually, you have to be a subscriber to get interviews like that. So that's the direction we want to move. So give us a hand. Get that supporter badge. We'd appreciate it. It'll show up in the comments so everybody can see it on Facebook. We got a little bit of a shorter show today. We're kind of rushing through here, but we can jump right into it. The big hot news of the week. Jason Witten comes out of retirement.
Right.
You didn't really like this.
I just wasn't saying I didn't like it. I just wasn't jumping up.
Well, you didn't see how it made us better, really.
Yeah, I didn't see how it made us better. I wasn't jumping up and down when you hit me up and you was like, I was tripping because I told you I was knocked out of sleep because I'm getting over the flu. That's why we kind of Jordan because I'm kind of under the weather. But when you hit me up, you was like, you missing this. What's up, dog? You usually be on this. I was knocked out of sleep, and when I saw it, I didn't believe it. You know what I mean? I was just like, what, for real? And then when I saw it, it's just like, I wasn't just jumping up and down because a lot of people will say he gets us over the hump, but I don't know how Jason Witten gets us over the hump to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion on it. Yes, the leadership. Yes, they talk about mentoring players, but he never really mentored players when they was there. He never did that. He basically told them tight ends, get to the back of me. I'm running this. You know what I mean? He wasn't really mentoring them. You know, we all know he doesn't have the greatest speed. I'm not bashing. I love Witten, but he doesn't have the greatest speed. His yards per carry after the catch was like 1.9 or lower than that. Averaged 8.9 before he left, and that's a year out of football, and you're coming back. Yes, it makes us not feel like we have to go out and get a tight end now, but at the end of the day, I don't see where it just gets us over the hump to say, oh, yeah, we're Super Bowl contenders now because we got Jason Witten back.
Yeah, you never really, even in that last season, I think it was 63 catches, like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. And that was about the same production that we got combined last season from the tight ends. And, you know, he's not a chain mover anymore. He's kind of 2 or 3 yards out. You know what I mean? Just can't really stretch the field, like you said, and get down the field. So. And
when people say he's a safety valve, Dak needed a safety valve. But when I looked at the team, when we got Amari Cooper, that became Dak's safety valve because we was 3-5. We had Ezekiel Elliott. And he was running the ball, but we were still 3-5. You know what I mean? When Amari Cooper came, he changed the dynamic because he's a dynamic receiver. Everybody got better. You get what I'm saying? So when you're bringing a Jason Witten, yeah, now does he take away snaps from like a Blake Jarwin? I know a lot of people still aren't sold on him, but you saw him start to come on at the end of the year. Does he take snaps from him? And also I was just the salary. He's making $3.5 million, and he's doing 20 to 25 snaps a game. I mean, we could have used that money elsewhere. I mean, why couldn't we do a league minimum with him and use that money elsewhere? Because we still need to sign players. I mean, we were going to talk about a few other things about some players wanting money. So why would we just give $3.5 million with possibly up to $5 million for one season and have only playing part-time?
Yeah, it would be strange to have your highest paid player at his position not starting because he might be coming off the bench.
Right, and we saw people coming off the bench. Sean Lee. We saw how when Sean Lee was coming off the bench, it was taken away from LVE. You saw how the change was going, and it looked like, you know what, this is a changing of the guard now. We just need to keep LVE out there. And I just feel like we need to get a dynamic tight end right now. You've seen these tight ends. Noah Fant from Iowa, he ran a 4.51. You know, you got these dynamic tight ends that are out there. We need those type of guys now. We need those type of guys that can stretch that field. That becomes a safety net with Dak when he got guys that got a 4.5, 4.6 speed and killing people down the middle. You know what I mean? They said Jason Witten with the red zone, but if we got a dynamic tight end that's out there now, it changes the whole complexity of the team.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to like a Tyler Eifert. I know he was injury prone, but just some new blood just to see, you know, if we could add that dynamic element to the offense like what you just said.
Yeah.
Again, appreciate everybody tuning in right now. If you're just joining us, it's Silver and Blue Nation Live Podcast. We're here every Sunday at various times, but we're here every single Sunday for you guys to be the voice of the fans.
What's up,
Gambino? We're not getting a ton of comments in today because we kind of got to be quick with this show, but stick around for the Greg Ellis interview. That's coming up. You don't want to miss that. He talks about that 1998 draft experience with Randy Moss, you know, being not compared, but kind of having that whole thing shadow over him most of his career. So stick around for that exclusive interview only with Silver and Blue Nation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's move on here to a couple other things we need to talk about before. Okay. Which one do you want to get into next? We got Beasley, Gregory, and Lawrence to talk about.
Let's jump on Randy Gregory right quick. You know, we heard the news that he was being suspended again. You know, I don't know the logistics of it.
It's the fourth time?
Yeah, fourth time. I don't know the logistics about him coming back this year. But, you know, a lot of people really dogged him. I'm kind of half and half because I'm confused because is this really a disorder? You know what I mean? I guess that's what I really want to know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to bring up David Irvin like that, but I feel like their situations are different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think the issue is, like, does he really have mental health issues, or is this just like something that it's just like, I just can't stop doing this? And that's just what the frustrating part. You know, I made the video a couple weeks ago with DeMarcus Lawrence, and I was saying that I didn't trust Randy Gregory just yet. I felt like he still needed somebody, right, a lead dog, because he was only one time away from another suspension. And guess what happens a week later? He gets suspended. So as much as ability he had, you still couldn't trust him. I mean, you just couldn't. And now it's changed the whole dynamics of the draft. Now we have to look at a defensive end in the draft or possibly free agency, but I don't think they will go to free agency. I think they'll more so go with the draft unless you get a killer deal. Dante Fowler, this Olivier Vernier, have just, you know, talked about they possibly could be out there, but it depends on how much they want to sign for. The cheaper way is the draft. Guys got to step up. Taco, Dorrance Armstrong Jr., but this is just a major blow to the defense because we're trying to get where we want.
Yeah, I think it's time that we just cut bait from guys like him, Randy Gregory, David Irving, because you got to stop wasting those roster spots. You know what I mean? Dudes we probably could have drafted by now. One of them would have turned out, you know, within this 4-year span or 3 years that he's been with us.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just tough because it just seems like it's never going to end. And how many more chances is he going to get before he's banned for good?
That's what I mean.
Are we going to sit there and continue to hold on to him until that time happens?
I mean, you seen Jerry. Jerry was talking about he loves
Playing
Randy
week
Gregory.
One, maybe.
You know what
That's
I mean?
What he said.
And I don't know. This is just a crazy case to me. You know, it just you just really wonder what's really going on behind the scenes with that. You just really want to know what's going on behind that. Is it a real major problem really in his life? That's what I really want to figure out and find out.
I mean,
because this is just a crazy situation right now.
Just me being like a smoker myself, I can relate as far as like I understand that it'd be really hard to quit. And for me, a lot of times that's a deal breaker in certain time. But I mean, playing in the NFL, it'd be hard for that to be a deal breaker for that. But I understand how it's so hard to stop for somebody who's heavy on it or, you know, depends on it for their sanity, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think it's a situation.
I wish they would change up the rules a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. The rules in place now, so guys can't really go against it. But I really do think when they have these next league meetings or with the players' union, I don't think the players' union is so great and strong with the NFL. But if they get into that, I think it needs to be looked at because I think the stats were 33 states have medical marijuana now and 10 states it's legal. So you're eventually going to see it being legalized. You're not going to have those states be legal and then it just goes away. No, it's going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. So eventually it is. So they have to revisit it
It makes you wonder if the players will have a case in the future to sue the NFL for all the time lost from the weed.
You know that'll come up. Yeah, you know that'll come up.
Although technically they'll probably be like, well, it was illegal at that time in your state or something. I don't know. But that's the rule. The rules are the rules, and if you can't play by them, there are consequences, and he hasn't been able to do it. So it looks like his career time might be running short. But which one you want to get into now? We got Cole Beasley and DeMarcus Lawrence to talk about before we show you guys this Greg Ellis interview.
Let's go with DeMarcus Lawrence. No, let's save the best for last. Let's go with Cole Beasley because a lot of people think he's tripping. The report was out there, I believe, today that he wanted $20 million guaranteed. And last year he didn't sign the contract with the Cowboys because he felt they lowballed him, so he kind of just said, I'm just going to bank on myself. Now he's talking about, we're hearing that he possibly wants $20 million guaranteed. If you look at a 4-year deal, something like that, that's like $5 million a year. And he made 3.7 last year. I don't see where he gets a pay raise. I mean, he did get 65 catches, but with everybody else needing to be signed, I don't know if they throw out that $20 million guaranteed to Cole Beasley. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there are any teams that have reached out and potentially looking at a trade. Or if he would request a trade, if there would be any teams interested in trading, because obviously if there was some kind of trade, he'd probably have to do the contract that he wants. But it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. There's a lot of contract situations to get to.
Well, like I said, Beasley, he's been in the media all last year, and he's got his demands, and the agent is probably telling him to put those demands out there because he will get that somewhere else. I believe he will. Now, he is going to be 30 years old, but I still think he's one of the top slot receivers in the game, and I believe he will get that money possibly guaranteed somewhere else. So he can come out and say those type of things because he can probably get that money elsewhere. And if you can get that money elsewhere, that hometown discount and that loyalty type stuff goes out the door. They're trying to get paid because this could be his last contract.
It probably will be. So we'll see how that unfolds. So we'll jump then to the next news, I guess, that we had lined up here, and that was the Cowboys met with DeMarcus Lawrence.
Right.
And they're not close on a deal.
Yeah, they're not close on a deal. I myself said he was going to get tagged, so I didn't think this was going to be – this is not any surprise to me that this is happening, that he did get tagged, that he's possibly going to get tagged. Today is what, the 4th or the 3rd? Today's the 3rd.
The 3rd. So
he got to the 5th. To them to work out a deal, and that's not happening. You know what I mean? It's not happening. They're not working out a deal yet. They said the sides are still way far apart, and I just knew this. I didn't think that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to get tagged, but when you get tagged, it doesn't mean that you're going to play on that deal. It just gives them enough time to try to work out a long-term deal before a certain time. So hopefully something like that will happen, because with Randy Gregory being out, there's a lot of good defensive ends, defensive tackles in the draft. The combine was on today, and I believe defensive ends and defensive tackles were today. So there's a lot of good guys out there that you can get in the draft this year. So, but you need DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't care. We need him, because if you lose a DeMarcus Lawrence, you lost to Randy Gregory. Man, are we feeling good with Taco Charlton and Tyrone Crawford or Dorrance Armstrong Jr. being our starting ends?
I don't think so.
No, we're not feeling good about that at all. You get what I'm saying? That's starting over in ground zero if that were to happen. So it is imperative that the Cowboys sign him. Yeah, maybe they should have signed him last year. You get what I mean? But there was that prove-it deal, show us another year. But now his price went up. His price would have been lower last year if you would have signed him. But now he got another year in, and now that price tag goes up. The same thing was they're talking about with Dak Prescott. Like, why don't you just let him play out his deal? But if he has another great year, that price tag goes up another year, and that's more money you have to spend. So that's just what the slippery slope is. I hope it happens, because we cannot start over and losing DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory in the same year.
Appreciate everybody leaving comments on Facebook, YouTube. We're live right now. We're doing a quick live stream. We're going to show you the Greg Ellis interview in just a second that just unfolded a little bit ago. He hits on the 98 draft and the situation with Randy Moss and how that whole thing played out for him throughout his career, so stick around for that. But one final thing I wanted to get into, and I want you guys to let me know in the comments too, because I forgot about this, but it kind of ties right into what we're talking about, since we have guys out on the defensive line. And then inspiration of Jason Witten unretiring, would you like to see the return of DeMarcus Ware? Obviously, we saw that video that he posted teasing a return. He called Romo out of the booth and, was teasing fans. But what do you think? Is he being serious? Could this be something? He says he feels good.
I don't think he's being serious. I just think, crazier things have happened, but I don't believe it at all. He's been retired, 2 years now? He's been retired 2 years now. The only way you could play him as a situational pass rusher. The only way he could be an option if DeMarcus Lawrence left. But this dude is, 37 years old now? I don't care how in shape he is. These are young bucks he's going against now, right? These are 23, 24-year-olds. I know you're a monster, but you're 37 now. It doesn't matter. Certain guys can beat that age difference. You see Tom Brady, but you don't see guys playing in the late 30s in the NFL. You just don't. And there's a reason why, because their bodies are broke up. They cannot do it anymore, and those young guys are coming in younger and younger and stronger and stronger. So I just don't think this is anything. I just think that, hey, he's just a cowboy, and, I don't know why he's saying it, but I just don't see DeMarcus Ware coming back and playing with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't really see it either, but I would like to see it. I don't know why I have a thing. I think a lot of people have this thing for just wanting to see the guys back in the uniform, back on the field, even though you know in your heart, like with Jason Witten, he's probably not going to be great, but it's going to be a great moment when you see him coming out with the uniform on again.
But see, that's our problem, though.
It's a show.
The Cowboy hierarchy, or they fall in love with these players, and they fall in love with these players, and then we want to bring people back and this and that. I don't hate anything, but I know this is a business first and foremost. That's what I learned when we got in the media. This is a business. So I just try to look at the business side of it more than the personal side of it, because you can be personal all you want. You can love a player all you want. But if them numbers don't match up, it don't matter how much you love that player. That dude's not going to be here.
You know what? That's a perfect segue, because Greg Ellis mentioned it himself in the interview about their relationship with tenured players, how they're really favored and they'll go the extra mile for them. Mm-hmm. And you just said that, and Greg Ellis hit on that as well, and we're about to play that interview right now. So did you have any final thoughts before any word on the combine? Was there anything you liked from there, or real quick just before we get into that video?
The main thing I can take from the combine, we should have been there, but money kind of disallowed it this time. But the thing I noticed in the combine, there's a lot of fast guys there. There were guys breaking records. Montez Sweet ran a 4.41 at a defensive end. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had Parrish Campbell. You had DK Metcalf. And lower figure, I didn't mean to call him a bust. I just seen these guys do astronomical, and they don't do anything to pros. But even the offensive linemen, receivers, Isabella, he's a guy that could be talked about with UMass, a little small guy. He ran like a 4.3. A lot of fast guys in this draft. Linebackers, D ends, D tackles, offensive linemen, fast. It's just crazy how you can see in the 80s guys getting drafted in the 90s, and you just see now these guys are faster than ever. You got offensive linemen that are 320-something pounds running 4.9, 4.8 40s. That is crazy. You get what I'm saying? Like, that is crazy. So that's the big thing I'm taking away from the combine. Speed, and there's a lot of it in this draft.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. Like I said, it was a shorter show, but make sure you check in next week. We'll probably be hitting on some more draft, and probably be draft heavy next week, and then whatever unfolds with these contract situations. Is there any final thoughts? Because we're about to go ahead and hit that Greg Ellis interview for everybody watching right now.
No final thoughts. Just can y'all pray for me? Get this sickness away from me, man. Like, and it's cold out here. This weather is crazy, so throw a shout out for Big Game James. Get better, please.
Heal, Big Game James. Well, that's it then. Look for some more content throughout the week from us. We'll try to put out some more videos. If you've seen that Earl Thomas video, that one was fire.
Yeah.
We'll try to do more things like that throughout the week. So
yeah, we got a little something for
you. So enjoy this interview. It's Greg Ellis. It's about 10 minutes. Sit through the whole thing if you want. About halfway through, he talks about that 98 draft. And enjoy it, and we'll see you guys next week. That's it for me. That's Big Game James.
And that's producer G Voltron.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Hello, Mr. Ellis. This is Big Game James with Silver&Blue Nation. How you doing today?
I'm doing terrific. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We definitely thank you for taking out a little bit of your time because we wanted to keep it old school. I like to bring back the old school and like to really have a questions to what they're doing outside of football. And you have a really interesting background that you're doing outside of football. So I'm going to just kind of jump right into it. My first question for you is, when you retired from the when you retired playing 12 seasons, 11 with the Cowboys, was drafted in 98. When you retired with the Cowboys, did you kind of have a feeling of what you was going to do outside of football?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that I was doing stuff while, my career was winding down, if you would. Mm-hmm. I experiment with a little real estate. I bought a house and put it on a government assistant program just to find out, what is real estate actually like when you're hands-on with that. Mm-hmm. And then I started a photography and video company. And not doing a whole lot because obviously, my main deal was football.
Right.
So I started that kind of thing. And then since football is, wound down, obviously I've pushed hard to do more stuff.
Right.
But the path it kind of followed was the path of the video and the photography.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, actually, I did a little bit of background because I got to watch a movie called Carter High. So when I seen that movie and I was like, Greg Ellis produced this? I was like, hold up, what is he really doing beyond this? Because that was a fabulous movie. What really got you to really go with that movie and kind of roll with that?
Well, I really want to help people, and I don't mean it as a cliche. I know we say we want to help people, but for me, I think one of the biggest ways to help people is to put a positive message in front of them. And then it's challenging to get them to really absorb that message and to carry it out. And through entertainment and with a positive message or with the right message, I think that's one of the biggest ways we can really help each other.
Right. Like I said, that was a fabulous movie. It got me hooked to actually watch it like 3 times, and I definitely appreciate you bringing that out. So that was a great movie.
Thank you.
Now, also, I did a little background check and seen you had this thing called Watch Night. It's kind of like a screenplay. Kind of tell me about what that is.
Well, a lot of churches have what they call Watch Night service at their church. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have. They usually do it kind of like at the end of the year kind of thing.
Yep. And so the average person, they don't know how and why we actually have watch night services in our church.
Right.
If you ask somebody, they will say, well, it's just to thank God for us making it through another year, and we're praying for blessings upon this new year. And that's true, and that's good. But when you look back, and you can even Google it, but when you look back and research, that tradition actually started in 1862, New Year's Eve. And slaves started that because 1863, New Year's Day, the Emancipation Proclamation was to go into effect. It got signed September 22nd, 1862, but it was scheduled to go into effect 1863, New Year's Day. So some slaves knew they were going to be set free, and so they chose to gather and praise God and to worship and to fellowship with each other about what they thought the first day of freedom was going to be like. So they stayed up all night long doing that, and they was watching for the first day of freedom to come.
No, that's pretty deep. That's amazing.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. Now I know we talked a little bit earlier. I said I wasn't going to ask you a lot of football questions, but I do have one question I want to ask you, because everybody knows when I said I had Greg Ellis, was going to have Greg Ellis on the show yesterday on my page. Everybody was like Randy Moss. That's the first thing that's associated with. Did you catch a lot of flack when you were drafted, and because everybody was talking about what could have been with Randy Moss? Did you catch a lot of flack? Like, did it seem like your whole career with that? Did it always kind of follow you?
Yes, it did. And it started from day one. And to be honest with you, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it because I was focused in on, okay, I have to, not let this team down. They drafted me in the first round. There's a lot of pressure. I got to be able to perform and do good out here. So I was like, God just blessed me to be able to do that.
Right.
But as my career and Randy's career progressed, people kept still talking about Greg Ellis, Randy Moss, Greg Ellis, Randy Moss.
Right.
And in the reality of the situation is Randy Moss has had an outstanding, as he is, Hall of Fame career. Well, Greg Ellis had an outstanding NFL career.
Yes, sir.
Now, has my career been on the level of Randy Moss? Certainly not. I'll be the first to tell you that. But would a professional team look back and say, man, Greg Ellis was a bust?
No, sir.
No.
Right.
Nobody can say that. So I liken it to this on a bigger scale, is that when you look at Michael Jordan, you look at Akeem Olajuwon. Akeem Olajuwon was the first player taken in the draft that year. Now, both of those guys are Hall of Fame guys. But, the reality of the situation, if you had hindsight to go do that draft again, people obviously would take in Michael Jordan first in the draft. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you can't argue and say, well, Akeem Olajuwon was a slouch. I mean, Akeem Olajuwon is a dominant basketball player and has had an outstanding Hall of Fame career, but just not at that same level as of a Michael Jordan. But both of those guys were still outstanding professional basketball players, as well as a Greg Ellis and a Randy Moss. So I tell them this too. I say you have to look at what the Cowboys needed at that time. And so the Cowboys needed a defensive end to help secure that defensive line during 1998, because they still had Michael Irvin. You got Troy Aikman. So you had a team that you were putting together some missing pieces to make a Super Bowl run.
Right.
Now, if you do get Randy Moss that year, you may score a lot of points, but how will your defense perform? Will you, have a missing gap because you didn't get a strong defensive end? So, again, hindsight, nobody knows. But, Randy has had, as you see, an outstanding NFL career. But I think, looking back and, hear people talk, and even to today, I still hear people ask me, man, you should coach, and you brought a lot to the game, and you need to pass it on. So both of us have had outstanding careers, but yes, Randy's career was better than mine, but mine is not one to say that, man, he was a sorry football player.
Right, definitely. Well, like I said, I loved you all day, all night, and especially when you had that comeback player of the year. When you tore your Achilles, came back like a gangbusters, and you just always kind of been the model citizen with the Cowboys. That's one of the reasons why they did draft you, because you were an upstanding person in the community and on the football field. So I'm glad that they drafted you, and I'm glad that you gave him in this interview today. I do want to ask a couple more things for you, Mr. Ellis.
Okay.
One is, do you still talk to Jerry Jones? Do y'all still have a relationship? Because I know guys that have a long tenure with the Cowboys, he kind of keeps them close. Do you ever go to functions or anything like that?
Yes. And that's one thing. You're exactly right. The rumors are true. Jerry, if you are a long kind of tenured player for him, he keeps up with you. He wants to know what you're doing, what you got going on. Unfortunately, our last event was at Wade Wilson's funeral, right. Who was a player for Minnesota and coach here with us in Dallas. And so, I went. A lot of us guys went. Jerry was there, and he and I caught up a little bit, and talked to his wife as well. So yeah, he likes to keep up with us.
That's a good thing, and a lot of people don't really kind of see that behind the scenes. What Jerry does, especially with players that have a tenure with the Cowboys, is something that's really big. I want to get out of here, but I want to ask you one last question. Do you have any upcoming projects going on, like maybe with movies or anything like that, and anything kind of in the works?
I have another stage play that continues, I guess, kind of like a sequel from the Watch Night play. Okay. Because Texas didn't release their slaves until 2.5 years after they were supposed to, after the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865, June the 19th, hence the term Juneteenth. I don't know if you've never heard of Juneteenth.
Yes, I definitely have.
But Juneteenth is the date in which General Granger sailed down to Galveston, Texas, and mandated that Texas, hey, you have to follow, you have to comply, and you have to free your slaves. And so we have a date coming up here in June the 15th. One is June 15th. One is June the 18th, which is a storyline leading up to the first day of freedom here in Texas.
Well, hey. I can't wait to I'm gonna check that out, and I want to okay. Now, do you have that on? Are you gonna have that like on like a Facebook page, or is this something that you can kind of look out on your own when you have that type of play?
Yeah, we put them on Facebook, run the ads and let people know about it. And I'm not a huge social media guy. I do my best. And so, you'll see it start showing up on my page as well. Okay. So, yeah, I want it to spread. And, we showed this play last year in Irving, Texas. And actually, they made a proclamation for June. I forgot the date, but one of the dates in June to be officially Greg Ellis Day in Irving, Texas, because of that play. Nice. So people like them. They enjoy them. They're educational. They're entertaining. And I want to continue to do them every year because it's educational. But it's also entertaining, so people are laughing and having fun. Right. But they're also learning about, why we have a lot of residue that spilled over from slavery.
Right. Well, I definitely thank you for your time, Mr. Ellis. It was a great talking to you and giving me that inside knowledge of what you're doing outside of football. I wish blessings upon you. And
thank you.
Just a lot of more success for you in the near future. And I just thank you for your time and sitting out for a few minutes with Silver and Blue Nation.
Okay, thanks a lot for having me.
All right, we definitely appreciate you, and hopefully I'll be able to talk to you soon, Mr. Ellis.
Okay, thank you, James.
All right, have a great day.
Okay, yes, sir. You too. Bye.